Hey, good evening, everybody.
Hi, James. Are you still there?
Yes, hello, how are you?
Hi. Is that set in stone, the email that you sent me, or you had the acting director sent me?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Please stand by. We're going to get ready to get started.
Okay, thank you. The meeting will please come to order. Just a quick note for public comments. There is a Google form sign up. The link is in the chat for those individuals who would like to speak. And for this evening, public comment will take place after the treasurer's report. I just want to thank everyone for joining us. Tonight, we are going to have the budget address from Mayor Mike Krzyzewski. First, we're going to begin with an opening prayer by Akira Granado.
Heavenly Father, we have assembled to handle the affairs of our city. As we do so, we ask for your guidance and understanding. We pray that our city reaches a place of peace and safety. Keep us out of harm's way and bless those who are in authority. Let respect be key in all our endeavors. Amen.
Amen. At this time, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
The United States of America,
to the republic
The republic for which it stands,
one
one nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty
justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will now call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Present.
Councilwoman Darby,
Present.
Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Harley, Councilwoman Harley, Councilwoman Fields,
Present.
Councilwoman McCoy, Councilwoman McCoy, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Field,
present.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Present.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Present.
Councilman Spadola,
Present.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Here.
President Congo.
Here. I would also like to acknowledge that Councilwoman McCoy said that she is here, but her video is acting up. But she's going to come out and then come back into the meeting.
Okay. What about Councilwoman Oliver and Councilwoman Harley?
I don't see them.
Councilman Johnson,
No, I don't see him.
I see
I'm on.
Harley.
I'm on.
Councilwoman Harley.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilwoman Harley is here, is with us.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we still have absent Councilwoman Oliver, just to make sure.
I see her. She's on.
Councilman Johnson. Okay, with that said, President Congo, 10 present and 2 absent.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Just
welcome.
quickly, I would like to quickly recognize some of the dignitaries who are with us this evening. We have Charlotte Barnes, our Human Resources Director. We have Fire Chief Mike Donahue. We have our Planning Director, Herb Linden, our City Solicitor, Robert Goff, our City Auditor, Terrence Williams, and our Public Works Commissioner, Kelly Williams. I want to thank you all and everyone who is joining us tonight for the mayor's budget address. At
Council
this
President.
time, yes,
I move council suspend the rules for Mayor Purzycki to present the budget address for fiscal year 2022.
Second.
it's been properly moved and seconded to suspend the rules for the purpose of the mayor presenting his budget address. On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Motion carried. We will now present Mayor Mike Purzycki's pre-recorded budget address for fiscal year 2022.
Good evening. Perhaps the best place to start this message is to acknowledge the extraordinary times in which we find ourselves. This address was not crafted in a vacuum, but rather during an economic crisis in the midst of a pandemic and its many gruesome manifestations, the deaths of 500,000 fellow Americans, millions of job losses, the stresses of social isolation, and a lost school year for many of our children. Our challenge is not just to balance a budget, but to craft one that confronts the many problems our community faces, both caused by and revealed by the pandemic. COVID-19 is not an excuse to hide. It is a call to each of us to better understand the problems we face and then to craft solutions responsive to the world as we find it when things return to normal, almost surely to a new normal. Solutions that will better our city and the lives of our citizens. The budget I have presented to Council includes no property tax increase. The budget is balanced with a transfer of $5.6 million from the Rate Stabilization Fund. This is the second consecutive year that we have accessed this fund. Obviously, I don't believe this is the time to raise taxes by 14%, which is what we would need to cover the deficit, nor do I believe it is wise to lay off employees when unemployment itself is a problem for the country's economy. Our budget does, however, include an increase of 3% in water rates and a 2% increase in the stormwater charge. The increase in the water rate is less than prescribed by the Independent Utility Citizen Advisory Board, but it is necessary to cover current expenses and avoid even larger rate increases in the future. The fact is, there is less discretion in the sewer and water budget than there is in the general operations budget. During the pandemic, a number of our employees worked from home to ensure their safety and to limit the spread of the virus. But many of our employees remained at the helm, performed gallantly while never missing a day, and exposing themselves to potential health risks. Our sanitation workers, plant operators, many of our office staff, L&I inspectors, our directors, our police and fire personnel, in particular, deserve our recognition and our gratitude. Thanks to you all. As we reflect on 2020 and look forward to 2021, there is much to be optimistic about. We have laid a solid foundation for Wilmington's future. Private investment in the city has approached $1 billion over the past 4 years, with much more to come. Thousands of apartment units are being built and occupied by new and current residents, stabilizing our crucially important wage tax revenue. Restaurants are opening throughout the city. 3 new hotels have opened and new ones are being proposed. Your city government invested $40 million in infrastructure. 26 miles of city streets have been paved. $11 million was invested in parks, community centers, and public spaces. Moody's improved the status of the city's bond rating by removing a negative outlook. We have not had to raise taxes in the last 3 years, while our cash balances have improved. And while the pandemic has presented challenges to our revenues in the short term, our long-term outlook gives us reason for cautious optimism. In short, we have laid the foundation for growth, if and only if we choose the path forward wisely. The budget proposal increases spending by 5.3%, or approximately $8.6 million over FY 2021. Of this increase, much of it is uncontrollable cost. For example, $3.38 million is a scheduled increase in debt service. Cost of living and step increases for employees required by contract or other mandates account for $2.6 million of the increase. And as we continue to implement a police-worn body camera program, software and personnel will add $650,000, leaving a budget increase in controllable costs of about $1.9 million, or 1.2% of last year's budget. Looking ahead, we must be mindful that revenue sources we once took for granted may not be available in the future. As we end fiscal year 2021, we project a $12 million decrease in key revenue lines compared with FY 2019, which was the last full year before the pandemic took hold. Examples are a $3 million loss in parking revenue, $1.6 million loss in interest income, and an almost $2 million loss in wage and net profits tax. Empty office space has led to real estate assessment appeals, which again has resulted in reduced property tax revenue. In fact, Moody's recently estimated that increased office space vacancies nationally will result in office assessments declining by 12.6%. As most of you are by now aware, the federal government will be providing support for states and local governments through the American Rescue Plan. At this time, it appears that Wilmington will be entitled to an allocation of $55 million to offset COVID-related expenses and to perform specific activities related to the impact of the virus on our city. There are limits to the way these funds may be spent, and we shall remain true to the spirit and to the letter of the law and its regulations as to the use of these funds. As we better understand the regulations as they're promulgated, we will confer with council where appropriate. But in any case, these funds are one-time revenue only and must therefore only be used with the long-term structural of the health of the city in mind and not for any operational programming. Our structural revenue loss projected for the next fiscal year, along with increases resulting from contract negotiations, will make balancing the fiscal year 2023 budget that much more difficult, and it will be even worse if we are not cautious about adding unfunded operating programming. Our finances, while stable, are threatened not only by the virus and its impact on our community, but on the long-term consequences of the changes in our society. For example, working at home and workforce consolidation will necessarily impact our revenues in the long run. This year's structural budget deficit equates to a 14% property tax increase, or a reduction of as many as 50 positions without external sources of funding. When the budget is balanced on its own, there will be a fiscal cliff that this government will have to reckon with. So be advised when you try to pack the budget with spending, there will be a price to pay, either in future high tax increases or severe layoffs. Now let me talk about our administration's priorities. As I described earlier, we have many things to be proud of. People are moving into the city. We have projects like the Flats on the west side and Reach Riverside in the northeast, both holding immense promise for our residents. The riverfront and downtown are doing well, although also hurt by the pandemic. But our neighborhoods are suffering, and this is our continuing focus. The housing stock in many of these neighborhoods has been in poor physical condition for years, if not decades. Lower income is at the root of much of this physical decay. It is expensive to repair and maintain older properties. We have long needed a solution to this problem. Before there was any mention of federal relief, I was prepared to ask Council to budget $5 million to improve housing in our neighborhoods. Now I think we have an opportunity to use some of the American Rescue Plan funds to provide even more resources to this effort. Therefore, I will set aside, as part of our redevelopment effort, to the greatest extent possible, money to help homeowners improve the homes they've lived in for many years and in which they raised their families. At long last, we will have the resources to demolish many vacant houses that are not salvageable and whose presence ruins neighborhoods. And lastly, we will commit to rebuild and redevelop areas of the city that have been without any hope of progress for far too long. Half of our residential dwellings are owned by investor landlords, which is in large measure why our neighborhoods are not adequately maintained. Too many investors don't seem to care enough about maintaining their properties and about their tenants. This council took its first brave step in rewriting our laws governing rental housing. Over the scare tactics and fear-mongering of landlords, this council recognized the importance of giving us the tools to enforce our housing codes and to protect our economically vulnerable citizens. Someday we will all look back on this significant change and wonder what all the opposition could have been about. Thank you to council members who supported this significant and important protection for tenants. If we are going to transform Wilmington's neighborhoods, however, the landlords must be a part of the solution. So I look forward to engaging with them on how they can assist in strengthening the city. Of course, the scar on the city's soul is the gun violence that costs lives and devastates families. There is a sense of urgency to reduce it, but this urgency inevitably collides with the dispiriting reality that 31 people lost their lives to gun violence in our city last year, a 35% increase over the year before. 168 people were shot, a 50% increase over the prior year. We take no solace in the fact that this follows a national trend of worsening violence in most all of America's cities since late 2019. The question for us is what we do about it. I don't believe this is a policing problem. In fact, our police department has done an outstanding job during a time when the entire criminal justice system has been shut down, criminal trials have ceased, and the illegal guns flood the streets. It is an article of faith that if we don't fix the underlying social ills, we will never reduce crime in the long run. Therefore, it will be the theme of this administration to improve the housing and the environment our children are raised in. We will continue to improve our parks beyond the tremendous investment we've already made over the first 4 years. Our clean teams will continue to clean the streets, and our youth career employment programs will now employ our young people not just during the summer, but throughout the year. Lastly, the city must re-engage with the education community after decades of having little or no say about the ways our children are educated. For over 1 year, I've been an active part of the Reading Consortium, which is pressing for equity in education that will certainly benefit Wilmington's children. But we must do more. Wilmington must not just join, it must lead. If we are unhappy with the condition of the city, its poverty and its crime, then we must strengthen the only institution standing that can influence the future for Wilmington's children and in the end, the city itself. I commit to you my dedication to a better education for our youth and to a city high school that can serve as the anchor for our young people's healthy identity and self-image, a high school that serves also as a cultural activity center and as a community support system. So our mission remains unchanged. For as long as our longest-serving council member Walsh has been on council, we have had to fight poverty, crime, middle-class flight to the suburbs, structural limits on our ability to govern ourselves, and a school system that does not serve us adequately. It is our charge as elected members of our community to actually make things better, to set aside any differences that divide us, because in the end, we all want the same things. We should commit that by the end of this term in office, we will have done more than any government that has gone before us to increase shared prosperity, to rebuild our neighborhoods, to improve the internal operations of the government, and finally to do all in our power to see that our children have the same chance at a bountiful life that we have all had. I ask for your support of this budget and look forward to working with you on solutions to our remaining challenges. Thank you.
I move that we return to city council business, regular business.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the council return to the regular order of business on the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
President Congo, I'd like to be marked as
Okay.
present.
Yes, please mark Councilwoman Oliver as present.
Thank you.
I would also like to acknowledge Brett Taylor, who is our finance director, Tina Betts, our cultural affairs director, Dwayne Sims, our city treasurer, for all being with us this evening. Thank you so much. And I want to thank our Mayor Purzycki for his budget address. I want to encourage the public to continue to engage with us as we begin our series of budget hearings very, very shortly. And that we will talk about that more during petitions and communication. This time we're going to have the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting.
March 4th, 2021, City Council met in virtual regular session, the above date at 6:30 p.m. President Ernest M. Congo II presiding. The opening prayer was done by Kira Granardo, Deputy Clerk.
I move that the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the minutes be accepted as written. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. City Treasurer's report.
March 18, 2021, total investment $461,788,677.87. Total cash on hand $14,192,772.01. Grand total $475,981,449.88. Dwayne Sims, City Treasurer.
I move that the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the treasury report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. At this time, no one has signed up for public comments. I just want to make sure that we're not missing anyone. I don't believe anyone has signed up, but we did want to make that available. Let's give that a couple more seconds. So at this time, we're going to move to legislative business. Councilmember Johnson. Is anyone prepared to present on behalf of Councilmember Johnson? I'm not sure if he's with us. I don't see his name.
Mr. President, I'll do so if you want.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Walsh, thank you.
Mr. President, we have several finance ordinances to present. First one being 0038.
Ordinance
To
20.
be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a nay vote.
One moment. Ordinance 21-015, Agenda 0038. An ordinance establishing a rate of taxation on real property and a taxable property of public utilities for the fiscal year July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance establishing a rate of taxation on real property and the taxable property of public utilities for the fiscal year July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer it to the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Mr. President, just for the record, for clarity, that should be ordinance 21-016. Correction on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next one is ordinance 21-017, Agenda 0039, an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2022 through 2027 inclusive. First reading.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2022 through 2027 inclusive.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that that be known as the first and second reading of that ordinance and refer it to the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Ordinance 21-018, Agenda 0040, an ordinance to adopt a capital budget for fiscal year 2022.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to adopt a capital budget for the fiscal year 2022.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of that ordinance and refer it to the Finance Committee and Capital Improvement. Is that what it is?
Yep, second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Ordinance 21-019, Agenda 0041, an ordinance adopting the annual operating budget for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2021 and ending on June 30th, 2022.
Mr.
First reading of the
President,
ordinance.
sorry.
An ordinance adopting the annual operating budget for fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2021 and ending on June 30th, 2022.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be the first and second reading of that ordinance and refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Ordinance 21-020, Agenda 0042, an ordinance to amend Chapter 45 of the City Code regarding sewer system rates and charges, water rates and charges, and stormwater rates and charges for fiscal year 2022.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 45 of the City Code regarding sewer system rates and charges and water rates and charges and stormwater rates and charges for fiscal year 2022.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of that ordinance and refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
And that's all the legislation to be introduced this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Walsh.
And, Mr. President, may I be recognized, Chris Johnson, Councilman for the 7th District.
Yes, thank you. Please recognize Councilman Johnson.
So noted.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will go to petitions and communication, starting with Councilwoman Gray. Councilwoman Gray.
Sorry. I was saying I have nothing this evening, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Darby.
I have nothing this evening.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to state that I thought that was the mayor's speech was pretty good. And it leaves us room for negotiation. And also, this Saturday, March the 20th, we are having a vaccination shot at the People's Settlement, thanks to Senator Brown's church, working along with the governor's DHS and Councilwoman Harley. And we have like 20 more slots for individuals who's trying to get vaccinated 50 and over, because the state has opened it up to 50 and over. So we have 20 more slots, and they are coming, DHS are coming in our community. They've been doing a fantastic job because there has been a lot of disparity throughout the country. But here in Wilmington, we started out with 100 names. over a month ago, and now we're down because the state has been really coming in, giving out the shots, providing the shots to seniors. So many seniors have called back and said, look, we received a shot. So that's a good thing. So we do have some slots available. If anyone's interested, just leave the message 576-2140 and the telephone number, and they will be registered, and they need to just show up at People's Settlement this Saturday, along with the president and the senator and Councilwoman Harley, because it is her district. And we're just looking forward to individuals who haven't received their first shot to receive their shot, and that's at People's Settlement. And I'm glad to see that People's Settlement is open back, doing something positive, because that building used to really be utilized, but it's not what it used to be. But at least we're trying to wake it up. So, because that used to be the anchor of the East Side. So I'm encouraging all council members who has anybody 50 and over that would like to receive a vaccination shot to call tonight at 576-2140. You have up until tomorrow noon to leave your name, and you will be registered, and just show up. Thank you, and y'all have a good one. Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Aller. Councilwoman Fields?
No legislation tonight, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCoy.
Nothing tonight, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I'm still on.
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Harley.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank, first of all, Councilmember Oliver for doing a great job with making that announcement that's going to take place at People's Settlement in the 4th District, but we both share the East Side, so thank you, Councilmember Oliver. Also want to say that I'm excited to hear that our mayor is going to be continuing to focus on housing stabilization, and to hear that there's going to be funding available for homeowners to help with repairs. I think that is some great news, and I hope that we have a good marketing strategy to get that information out to the community. I also want to say that I'm happy to hear that they're starting to offer the vaccination within the Brown and Black communities at a quicker and a faster rate. I know for a fact at the Wilmington Public Library this week, they were doing vaccination shots where the community could sign up and get appointments at the Wilmington Public Library. Now, this is not in the city of Wilmington, but I want to share it because it's right outside of Southbridge. Canaan Baptist Church is going to be offering the vaccination on Wednesday, March 31st, from 10 to 12. You can send your name, phone number, email, and date of birth to canaanvaccine@gmail.com. And again, that's Wednesday, March the 31st, from 10 to 12, canaanvaccine@gmail.com. And as for anyone that's 50 and over, and the second dose is going to be scheduled on April the 24th. So I just wanted to get that information out as well, because there are a number of people that are looking forward to getting the vaccination. So any opportunity that I get to share information where these vaccinations are going to be given out, I just wanted to make sure we get that out there. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley. Just before we go to Councilman Johnson, I just want to acknowledge that the Mayor's Chief of Staff, Tanny Washington, is also with us this evening. Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
Yes, good evening. I believe the only announcement I have is regarding the budget hearing schedule. So I appreciate my colleague stepping in for me on an emergency basis to introduce the budget ordinances. But since this is budget season, we do have a lot to do in a short amount of time. And without going into too much detail, this is going to be a challenging budget, as the mayor said. And we have a lot to do. So the first hearing is coming up April 7th at 4:30 p.m. And that actually will be the mayor's office, city treasurer's office, and then Wilmington City Council. So it'll be all evening with about half an hour breaks between hearings. And on Monday, April 12th, will be the Wilmington Police Department and the Fire Department. That again will be 4:30 p.m. Next hearing date will be Wednesday, April 14th, will be L&I and Real Estate and Housing Department. Monday, April 19th will be Mayor's Office of Economic Development and Parks and Rec. Wednesday, April 21st will be the Audit Department, Human Resources and Law Department. Monday, April 26th is Finance Department, IT Department, and Revenue Projections. Wednesday, April 28th will be the Planning Department and Public Works. And Monday, May 3rd is the Public Works Department, Water and Sewer Fund, and we also believe we will have a presentation by the Water Revenue Projection Office. So with that is a packed schedule. It's a lot to digest in a short amount of time, but please tune in. Again, the evening events will always begin at 4:30, and we'll have this posted on WITN and city websites. So we encourage all in the city to participate in this process and help us craft a budget that will continue to rebuild Wilmington as we come out of the pandemic. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. Councilman Field.
No announcements tonight, President Congo. I just want to thank everybody that planned the meeting and is responsible for running it from behind the scenes. Thanks again to the WITN team. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Spadola.
Thank you, Council President. I have nothing tonight.
All right, Councilwoman Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple announcements. New Destiny Fellowship is doing their free food giveaway again, and as well as free testing at their site as well, actually tomorrow. So they'll be doing that from 12 to 2, where you can get free testing for COVID as well as get free food by going to New Destiny Fellowship in the 3rd District. As well as our upcoming Health, Aging, and Disabilities Committee meeting is coming up this Wednesday, March 24th, and we'll see you at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cabrera.
Good evening, all. And yes, I do have some announcements that I would like to make. But before I forget, because I didn't write this one down, just wanted to make sure that we also promote the event that we are doing on March 27th, that we will be doing a food giveaway. So we'll get more details if anybody would like to participate in that. That is March 27th. I did want to just remind people that we still have to remain vigilant. I know that as the vaccine is becoming more accessible to everyone and for people over the age of 50, that we don't have this false sense of security. Remember, that you can still get COVID. You can still transmit it to those who have not been vaccinated. The vaccine just keeps you from having the fatality and the fatal symptoms that come with COVID, especially when you're someone of age. So we just want to remain vigilant. Spring break is around the corner. I know people are going to be tempted to travel, to go out. And yesterday was definitely a very tempting day to go out and drink and partake of the festivities during St. Patrick's. And I was a little bit alarmed to see the amount of people that were out, but I certainly hope that the bars and restaurant were practicing all the social distancing, as we all need a break and want to get out and socialize with each other. There are variants of COVID right now that are still unknown, that we really don't have all the details. So in order to keep those from spreading and overtaking here in the US, we have to be vigilant in Delaware and abroad. I also would like to just remind people that it is that time of year where you can sign up your kids for different sporting events. So just want to promote that the Roberto Clemente League is still taking registrations. So get the kids involved, because now more than ever, they need to get out and socialize with each other, which leads into another issue that I just hoping that people are aware of, your young folks. People think that because they're teenagers and, they're resilient, that they're not going to have mental health issues and depression. And what I'm seeing, and my son is very open about sharing with me how he feels sometimes the frustration. He misses the socialization. As much as he's wanted to stay home with virtual, he's actually considering that if they allow him to go into the hybrid model, he wants to go back to school. He misses just being a teenager and participating in those things. But please talk to your teenagers, ask them how they're feeling, how are they doing? Because they are at a very vulnerable age, and the lack of socialization and everything that's going on is confusing and depressing to them. I also want to add that I'm on the board of Sacred Heart, but that the Ministry of Caring has managed to secure and to go forward with the project of Villa Maria and the Northeast corridor of Market Street. So they will need our support with the city, as well as private support in building more affordable housing, which has been one of the issues during this pandemic. So as we move forward with the budget and working together, affordable housing, restoring our neighborhoods, neighborhood stabilization is really important. And I just do want to read a few comments that I put together in reference to going into this budget season. And I just want to say that I personally, and I hope that, other council members, that we look forward to working together on behalf of Wilmington, especially to overcome the financial and social challenges brought forth by the pandemic. Now more than ever, we as the leadership of the city must work together and be diligent on passing a responsible, but also thoughtful and compassionate budget. With the federal assistance from the recovery plan, we hope to invest in individuals, small businesses, and all that had been affected by this once-in-a-century emergency disaster. I thought that the mayor did a wonderful job with the budget address, and I definitely look forward to working together as a team so that we can do what's best for all of our constituents. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Councilwoman Carrera. Councilwoman Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two things very quickly, maybe three. What Councilmember Cabrera just spoke about with Ministry of Caring. I think for those that bother looking down at where Villa Maria is going to be built, right across the street from that is St. John's. And anybody who knows how that neighborhood was exploding at one point with petty crime and a fair amount of gun violence too. Since that's been up, it's calmed down quite a lot, just as it will even more so when Villa Maria does. And I think just as people that live in the Trinity vicinity saw how much it calmed down when they put Sacred Heart in that neighborhood. I think council members are going to get a full court press on each other between you, me, and Maria Cabrera as to pushing this project, since we're all kind of on the same page about it. So I look forward to working with people on that. The second thing I wanted to mention is because we didn't do a resolution to this woman's family because I can't get information as to where her children are. But about a month ago, one of our long-term employees and somebody who made a whole bunch of us who have worked for the city over the years laugh a lot, Denise Davis, died. And she was formerly employed by the Economic Development Office. And she was even in a couple other offices over the years, real estate and housing, and a couple other areas. So if anybody has any information about the family members of Denise Davis, if they could possibly call me, and my number's on the screen, or call council office to leave whatever information can be forwarded to them, I would really appreciate it. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Walsh. Yes, we definitely lost a beautiful soul in Denise. And I want to make sure that that information is given to you so that we can do right by her family, by giving her a resolution. You're absolutely right. She was, we could sit up here and talk about her all night. just always wanted to help and give and cook. She was just a beautiful lady, had a beautiful soul. She will be sorely missed by all of us. Just want to encourage everyone to, as Councilman Johnson gave us the information about the budget hearings, to please participate and engage and give us your feedback. This is a really important time for us on council and for you as our constituents, just to make sure that the budget is what we want and the budget is what you want. So if you have any suggestions, please call us, please email us. You can call us at 576-2140. You can email us. You can get our various emails from council when you call that number, but we definitely need you to be engaged. We cannot do this process without you, so please engage with us as we start our budget hearings. Really important time of the year for us. And with that, we will have our first annual food drive. It's going to be on next Saturday, March the 27th. So we are encouraging everyone just to call us at council to get more information. And it's going to be a great event. We're going to have a lot of food, a lot of volunteers, and then we're going to have some COVID supplies. We'll have masks and sanitizer. It's going to be a great effort. WITN will be there to make sure they are capturing the moments. We're really looking forward to us as a council just giving back to the community that we serve. Just want to wish everyone a great week. And with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Good night.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.